I want to learn about your alter ego, Rufflecopter111.
Don't tell Epic Games I said this, but I lost that account
Okay.
for money. And the first tweet that popped up was Owen tweeting, "Hey, does any content creator want to move to Brighton in a month?"
Oh. They called it the 15-second rule. They said always act like somebody new's clicking on your stream and act like you would for 15 seconds if you knew they were there or something like that. You heard it here first, pre-podcast highlights. There'll be an Acho X Rufflecopter collab anytime soon. Alright lads, welcome back to InsideMC, the part of the podcast where I sit down with a very special guest every single week. And this week, I am joined with the one, the only, the amazing, Acho.
Hey, it's me! Oh my god!
How are you today?
I'm chilling. I'm feeling the New Year's glee. I had a good night last night. Oh my god, I can't even speak. Yeah,
it's a nerves. Don't be too nervous. It's fine.
I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to talk. Happy to yap for a while.
It's gonna be fun. I don't know what it is. I feel very out of practice. Last time I recorded was like last year technically, but also last Wednesday. So you know, I feel very out of practice.
I think that happens with things like this. Like I have, there are so many skills, like tangible skills that you use throughout your life that just become comfortable. But for me, streaming, if I take like a day off streaming, the next stream I do, I feel like I'm rusty, even though it's only been 2 days since I last streamed. I think that just kind of happens with creative things, with stuff like this. You feel like you're out of your mojo, even when it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, it's part of that, but it's also part like the week before Christmas. I recorded a podcast on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then the week of Christmas, I recorded on Wednesday, and then I normally record every Monday and Wednesday. So recording 3 in 1 week, then one week. It's like this week is when I get kind of back into the mojo. Plus, I've been drinking a bit of alcohol in between, so I think it's also that as well. But you know, it's been a good build up to the New Year's, and it's nice to kind of be getting back into it. And I'm starting the first podcast recording of the new year with an absolute bang, you know. So So Acho, I always like to give the intro for the guest to introduce who they are. Who are you? What do you do? Maybe a fun fact. It's completely up to you. Floor's yours.
All right. Okay. Wow. I don't know what it is because I introduce myself so often. Obviously, with streaming, when someone raids, it kind of just happens. You have to introduce yourself to a bunch of new people.
Yeah.
That it should feel comfortable. I should feel like good at this. But I have my one script, and I feel like I have to deviate from it in a new environment. Okay, I'll do the script. I'll go with the script, and then we'll switch it up at the end.
Okay, all
right. So yes, hello. My name's Acho, or Shay is my real name, or GG Acho if you knew me before the GG was removed. I'm streaming from New Zealand, but I'm based in the UK. I mostly play Minecraft. I've been doing a lot of different things lately because I was just doing a subathon. I also make a little bit of music. Fun fact: I am a licensed scuba diver, and I got that license in Oman.
Oh,
there you go.
What's that about? That's opened a whole new area. What you? Why?
At the time, see, the problem is this opens a whole nother can of worms. I didn't think about this. At the time, I was traveling for school. I was on a scholarship that meant I got to travel around and do like location-based project-based learning.
Okay.
And my project at the time, alongside 10 of my friends, all from around the world, who had also flown in from their home countries to Oman, we were doing a project that was focused on like combining marine biology with artificial intelligence. And so I learned about how to code AI neural networks whilst also learning how to scuba dive. And then I took the data I collected on my own dives, like data as in images, and used them to train AI neural network to identify between turtles and fish. It was a very simple thing of just like, is this a turtle? Is this a fish?
Sounds very simple,
but basically, as a basic thing so that it could then eventually, theoretically, I didn't actually do this, but that was the point of the project, or the point of my project personally, was to show like, oh look, this is what a computer could do. Now imagine I was not just one kid taking photos and I was, someone that was able to go out and do that with every species of fish. And now suddenly you have something that can identify stuff. Yeah, that's what I was doing at the time. That's why I'm a licensed scuba diver. I haven't been diving since I was like 17, but I miss it. I need to go out.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 21 now.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you was my age. I'm 20, so kind of the same thing at that point. I would explain okay. That explained like when you went to America, you was able to drink and stuff. So you went to TwitchCon NA, or am I tripping?
I went to San Diego, but I wasn't able to drink then.
Oh, I thought you went this year. Oh no, you went to EU. I know that.
No, I didn't. I didn't go to Las Vegas. Yeah, I didn't go to Las Vegas.
Oh, that's my bad. See now, but this is really unprofessional. Oh my god, I don't know my full-on facts.
It's alright. It's alright.
So what did you study in school then that took you there for that scholarship?
So at this point it was high school, so you weren't like studying specific things. I was interestingly like reflect on that period of time in my life, and I see a shift from how I saw myself before going to that school and how I see myself now, in that I, growing up, was mostly just, I presented myself as just an athlete. I had a variety of unique interests and I was academically good in school and stuff, but the way that I approached, the way that I thought of myself and the way that I think I showed myself to others was that I was just interested in sports. So at that point, I was just like achieving good grades in school and stuff, but I was naturally inquisitive, asking questions about the academic system and how it met my needs as a student, and that led me to finding a school that travels around the world and does crazy things like that, and that sounded perfect. It sounded not real. So I just applied. I didn't think too much of it. I didn't think I would get in because there's thousands of applicants every year, and only 30 kids get into the school.
Jeez, okay.
But but somehow as a 15-year-old, I got that scholarship, and I was able to travel around the world before COVID kicked in, and I've now lived in 10 different countries.
Oh my, okay.
And learned a bunch of unique random things that were specific to those countries, and there wasn't really one thing that I studied during that time, but what I found out about myself is that I am naturally inclined to learn about technology and to learn about modern ways we can solve modern problems.
Fair enough. I think most people who are like content creators kind of dwell into the technology field, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
There's something, I mean, not technology. I mean, I guess it's technically still technology. I've said it, if this whole like podcast or content creation thing doesn't work out by like mid 2025, is it 2025? Yeah, mid 2025, that I'll look into going back to college and studying marketing.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can do specifically digital marketing as well if that's what you're specifically interested in. So
I guess
100% can be.
It,
yeah. 100% is most of the time now technology based marketing stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I think it's just more so with the podcast, the way I promote it and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I know like it gets more interaction because I'm announcing somebody, but it's also like I kind of have experience with how to form tweets and how to do stuff with the podcast. So what could I do if like I was working with like an established company and I had that kind of thing, you know? Obviously, I'd go back to college and learn a lot more than I do now. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, I think every content creator forgets that their job is majority marketing. That's like the reason you grow is if you're able to market yourself well, and that comes down to a variety of things, and part of that is creating good content. If you don't create good content, then the marketing can't really be successful. But
I guess I kind of see it
no matter what content you make, it's marketing.
Yeah, because I see it as like the way you promote yourself on Twitter, for example. I mean, being able to get like the people I've had on the podcast, you included, is like I must be doing something right, otherwise you'd turn around and say no, kind of thing. You know? Like if you didn't 100%. See it, especially because you're going back to you're off to New Zealand. Why have I said it like that? You're off to New Zealand in 2 days from recording this, I believe.
Yes, yeah, basically.
And then this podcast is coming out a day before you come back. So in your words, people are going to be starved of Acho content.
Exactly.
So that everyone's going to want to watch this podcast to just hear your voice
again. Perfect timing.
With that all said then, I think we should address the elephant in the room. And before we get to know more about you and Acho and all that kind of stuff, I think I want to learn about your alter ego. Rufflecopter 111.
I didn't think we were gonna get into this early. Oh my god.
I mean, I can save it, but it's something I've been really, really curious about, and I think I asked the questions like this that I just want to get into straight away. So I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, we can wait. We can talk about it later on if you want to leave.
No, it's all right. No, there's no. It's all right. I'm happy for this. I'm happy for this.
Okay, all right. So what's the deal with that then?
Oh my! So there's a few bits in one with Rafflecopter, and I haven't thought about how I'm going to approach explaining this because sometimes
I guess
explaining a joke is less funny.
I mean, maybe I can ask you a few bits, and you can maybe go from there. So
I don't mind. Whatever works.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll ask a question, and then if you find a way to transition into explaining it in a good way, then you can go from that. How's that sound?
Okay.
So why the name Rafflecopter 111? Why?
So I'm trying to remember how I even re-found the GIF. Obviously, if you aren't familiar, there was a GIF that was popularized, I want to say 2012 or something like that on the internet, that was essentially just a helicopter made out of the word ruffle, which is rolling on the floor laughing.
Okay. All right, this is also a good start.
Yeah, this GIF back then I think did the rounds because it was oh my god, that's funny, like rolling on the floor laughing, but it's a helicopter. I don't know. It's like peak 2012 humor, not actually that funny now, sort of thing. But I think the combination of that with also the fact that ruffle is not a commonly used term anymore. No one says ruffle really.
No.
It builds the irony of it. So when I needed an account name for my League of Legends account, I think this was I guess it's 2 years ago now, 2022. I've only played League of Legends once, and I played it this day, and I needed a name for my Riot account. The first thing that came to mind was Rafflecopter, this GIF that I thought was incredibly ironically funny, and that is kind of that's where it started. But for almost a year and a half since that point, it kept relatively tame until recently when I started playing on Hoplite, and I needed a nickname that I could use to queue games, and Rafflecopter 111 returned, and it was a little bit funny, and I explained the bit maybe again, chat, maybe people that were confused about it. But it became an excuse or a way for me to stretch the blame from myself, and when I'm being a little bit chaotic, or using humor that's a little bit just less like my normal self because I'm just high energy or whatever. So if I'm making a sexual joke between me and a friend, I can do it as Rafflecopter, and therefore in this alter ego it kind of it's a little bit easier to slide the blame. But what turned out is that my chat likes Rafflecopter more than they like me.
Oh no.
And then furthermore, we started the whole look maxing side of the bit.
Yeah.
Which is that Rafflecopter, my alter ego, is the perfect Giga Chad man who look maxes and essentially has the perfect jawline, the perfect facial structure, and muse all day. And it was such a funny bit that it's just kept going.
Do you think it'll stick around for a while, or is it one of those bits to eventually kind of it's funny, but in maybe 2-3 months it'll be it's still fun, it's still around, but not as kind of prominent.
Yeah, I think maybe the look maxing side of it might be less funny, it might fade a little bit. Using it as a representation of Rafflecopter might always be funny, and I think Rafflecopter 111 has shown its longevity. I think it'll stay ironic. I don't think Raffle is going to become cool again anytime soon, and I don't think Rafflecopter, that GIF, is going to become used again. So I think it can stay ironic. I don't think it's going to do a return. So I'm pretty happy that I think Rafflecopter 111 will always be a great excuse to point to for when because I'm always going to have days days where I'm just super high energy and making jokes that
goofy,
are a little bit different. Yeah, just in a little bit of a goofy, a little silly. And so I think Rufflecopter 111 will stick around in that sense as an easy thing to point to that maybe also is sort of an inside joke between me and my community now. It's like once you learn about it, then it becomes extra funny because we're all in on this little bit that like, oh, it's Rufflecopter, it's not Acho.
Because I knew it as like Rufflecopter 111 was a Giga Chad, but that's all I knew. Like, because I saw always like because you did it with Maddie yesterday.
Yeah.
So. Where do you even get the filter from? Is it Snapchat, Instagram?
Yeah, it's on Snapchat.
Okay. And then it just enhances your facial features. It's great. Me personally, I prefer Acho, but subject to opinion.
Fair. The streets prefer Rufflecopter apparently.
But is that like ironic prefer, or do they actually prefer? That's the question.
I don't. No. I mean, I think it's
silly.
I hope it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. Yeah.
We don't want to be naming your alt account on Twitch to Rufflecopter 111. With that, still, I have another question regarding Rufflecopter. What is the question? That's it. Depending on the next SMP you're in as well, if there's a helicopter, maybe you can name it and carry on the bit a little bit and like intertwine it with the roleplay.
I think incorporating it into a story would be the greatest thing. Stuff like that, I think, is some of the more fun parts of doing those storytelling SMPs. Like incorporating, I don't know if you saw this, but Grimbus, the tree, into...
Heard about it.
Okay, yeah. I had a terrible painting of that tree on Pirates and stuff like that, where I can go from the most like gut-wrenching, soul-crushing lore into, oh my god, that's Grimbus, the tree. And I think that adds a chaotic, unpredictable element to those servers. So to be honest, if Rufflecopter is still a bit that I'm running and I'm on whatever the next project I end up on storytelling wise, that would be very fun. I'd love carried on through something like that.
Maybe we'll see Rufflecopter intertwined with lore then. No way. And it'll be something that only your community understands.
Yeah.
The perfect bit of lore.
Yeah, that would be great.
We are going to talk more about SMPs as we go through the podcast, but there are other, because I feel like SMPs it's not that it's your main content, but I feel like it's going to be the main chunk of the podcast talking about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about like other topics that might not be the main chunk before we get into talking about that aspect of things. I am going to save the football to the end. That's going to be coming at the very end of the podcast, so just a heads up in case you thought I was going to move into that.
Okay.
But I want to know like basic stuff. So obviously I asked about Rufflecopter, where that came from, the name and kind of stuff. But what about Acho? Where did Acho come from? How did you begin your content creation career? Why the name Acho? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Acho, the name, is a bit less of a long story, so I'll start there, and then we can get into why I became a content creator and those questions. Okay. But Acho as a name, I was obsessed with Fortnite at the time, which apparently has now come back. Yeah. But I was traveling for my school, and I wasn't playing on my account as much. So I thought at that point it was probably smart to capitalize on the fact that rare skins or accounts with rare skins sold for a lot of money. I had a Black Knight on my account. Well. Yeah, well, I don't anymore. Oh. Don't tell Epic Games I said this, but I lost that account for money.
you misplaced it, but you got somehow.
Yeah. And I wanted a new account on Fortnite just so that I could play casually, but I didn't. I wanted it to be like interesting in some sort of way, so I was looking at accounts that had 4-letter names, and I stumbled upon the name Acho. That's like genuinely the only reason I'm called Acho. That's the reason I'm still called Acho. It didn't mean anything to me. I didn't even come up with it myself. It's just that it looked cool, so I got that account. And I thought it was a good enough name to stick with. And I'm really glad. I think Acho works really well for content and stuff. I think it's a unique name, and it's pretty all right for SEO, especially with the GG in front of it. Yeah,
it's a good name. It's like, it's one of those names that I say this about a few people, but everyone I say it to, it stands. It's like you say Acho, and it's like, oh, I know know Acho because originally because obviously obviously for the people who listen to the podcast, I say this like a majority of the podcast. I've only been in this community since March 2023, so I haven't been around for long at all. And obviously when I first bumped into you, I kept calling you Acho until my chat got very annoyed at me and said stop. I was like, what do you mean? Because no one ever corrected me, so I was like Acho. I originally called you Acho, and then people was like, it's not Acho, it's Acho. So why the silent H? Why the pronunciation like that?
Okay, so the people that told you not to say Acho, that's actually all right. It's not a chew. That's the one thing I don't allow is a chew. But when I started streaming...
Sorry. Okay, I wanted to apologize.
No, yeah. You're all good. No, you're good. The one thing, like, when I started streaming, I just said, like, you can say Acho, you can say Acho. I think people have said Acho or Acho. I'm all right with that. Because it's... I don't know. But I read it like the word echo, just with an A. And that's how I read it. And I think most people picked up the pronunciation just from how I say it. And that's how I read it, is like the word echo.
Okay, that makes sense actually as to why that then, yeah, fair play. And then what about content? What inspired you to, because I believe you've been streaming since 2021, so you are technically under the category of a COVID streamer, whether or not it was because of COVID, you're still under it because of the time you started streaming. So where does that come into play?
I was in my senior year of high school, which depending on where you're on, just last year of high school, I was going to graduate high school, secondary school, the level before university.
If you don't mind me asking, was this in England or was this in New Zealand?
New Zealand. I was living in New Zealand, but my school was American.
Okay.
In New Zealand, we didn't actually have COVID. Well, we had like 100 cases total, and those were all spread out over the last. So when I was in my school, all of my IRL friends that went to New Zealand schools, they were outgoing, living their lives and stuff. Whereas I was inside doing online school because my school was American, suffering, just having the worst time of my life. And part of that period of time was just like a general amount of isolation I think I was feeling. And alongside that, I had always wanted to do content of some sort. I've been a video editor before, and I knew how to video edit. I had made YouTube videos for fun, but there was a certain point in time, I think, where it's like, you know, sort of a coming of age thing. You're like, what do I want to do with myself? What do I want to do in life? And I looked at all of the people that had inspired me, whether that be musicians or other content creators that I watched on YouTube, or footballers or academics, whatever, authors, whatever. The people that to me always seemed like, not even that they were the happiest, because I think you can't generalize in that way, but the people that tend to have best groups of people around them, the nicest like friend groups, always seem to be people that sort of work for themselves, people that work in a creative environment where they're sort of the boss. And so I looked at that and I was like, I want to be a musician or a content creator or something like that, because I don't want to have my only friends be like, oh, Gary from The Office and like this person because they are my neighbor. I feel like so many people find themselves locked into friend groups or into friendships because they work alongside someone and because they, proximity basically. Whereas I saw
like, not interest per se, but just common activities, I guess.
Yeah. Basically, I just looked at it and I was like, I've always been interested in content, but I've never given myself the full leash to be like, okay, actually try this, because it's kind of embarrassing. I think for me, it was like embarrassing starting out to be like, yeah, I want to be a streamer. I want to be a Twitch streamer. I think until you have the numbers, that is kind of like hard to admit in a real life context. But I was just like, no, this is like actually, I believe what's going to make me happiest, because it means that the people I can surround myself with are the people that I truly connect with. If I don't like someone that is a Twitch streamer, that's, in my general friend group, I don't have to be friends with them. I don't have to see them every day. And to me, I think that's one of the most beneficial things and one of the things that motivated me the most. I always wanted to do content, but I also always wanted to code mobile games. And then I realized actually I don't enjoy doing that. And I always wanted to do a bunch of different things because I've always been someone that picks up interests and stuff. But content was the one that I was like, okay, I want to try this. And I also think that this will end up putting me in the right scenarios to have the right friendships and stuff like that. And then I tried it and I was like, oh, I'm in love with this. I enjoy this so much. And I've basically streamed daily since then.
Tracking back on something you said quickly, just because I'm a little bit confused with it. You said that you was in an American school, so you had to go online. How exactly did that all work?
So because my school was that traveling school I talked about earlier. So when COVID hit, we obviously couldn't travel around the world anymore, which basically just turned all of my classes into online classes, and meant that so I was living in Panama when COVID started, and I had spent 2 months there, and I went home and I said goodbye to my 29 classmates and friends that I'd been traveling around the world with, thinking I would see them a month later, and then COVID hit and we didn't see each other again. So it was a very like stark thing of like going from constant being on the move to being stuck in my bedroom, and so in order to surround myself with some really cool people, in order to get maybe a bit of human connection in the sense that I was always inside, I think streaming was kind of like the perfect thing to build up a community of people around me, to build up a friend group of people around me that I truly want to have around me.
It's a bit sad actually when you think about it. You said, oh, you thought I was going to see them in a month, and then you didn't. You didn't ever again. It's like, that was a bit sad. Oh, it made me a bit sad.
It was unfortunate. I've managed to see some of them now that COVID's cleared up, but obviously we aren't all in school anymore, so there's no reason to get all 30 of us together, especially considering how many people there are. It's 30 of us from 22 different countries, so getting us all in one place is kind of impossible.
Plus, you're all doing your own thing now. I mean, you've gone on to become famous, so
I wouldn't say famous.
Well known. There we go. So no, but in all senses, I mean, how I kind of see it as like in some cases, and this one is more of a borderline case, and I use this saying a lot on the podcast, is everything happens for a reason. And like, as much as COVID was an absolute horrible situation, you kind of got to look at it as like, where would you be now if COVID didn't happen? Because if COVID, I mean, I started content a little bit before COVID, but like had COVID never happened, I'd be sitting in I'd be sitting in like an accounting behind a desk as an accountant, being like hating my job, Whereas I'm a barista and I don't exactly enjoy my job, but it's the hours work and stuff like that for me to be able to kind of carry on the podcast, which hopefully can turn into something one day. So
yeah, I get that. There's always there's pros and cons to things, but you kind of have to accept that like it happened and or that it's happening depending on what you're talking about.
You just gotta stay positive.
Staying positive and knowing that this is something I've talked about recently, so it kind of ties in. Like knowing that when you're going through something, whether it's individual to yourself or it's a huge thing like COVID, that you can't change that. Like I said, like it's happening and it's going to happen either way. But knowing that in 3-4 years, even if that indirectly causes something with the butterfly effect, you will be where you need to be. As long as you keep pushing like day by day, like you will make it to where you need to be, and you'll look back and it might not make sense now. It might not even make a whole lot of sense then, but that will be your journey that got you there. And so accepting it, moving forward and taking it day by day, making sure you're doing the things you want to be doing right now, the most important thing.
Exactly. And you got to, I mean, I've always said it as well, it's about the people you surround yourself with as well, Yeah. You need to like for instance, you've surrounded yourself with people who are interested in the same thing you are. I mean, like some of your closest friends are SMP creators or they're streamers and stuff like that. It's like, it makes sense because you're all trying to grow and being friends with people who, and it's a lot easier to make friends online as well. Like I don't get me wrong, I'm nice and I talk to all of my like colleagues and stuff, and we all get along really, really well, which is the first job I've ever had which all the colleagues get along really well. But
it's good.
We don't exactly share common interests. Like we talk a tiny bit about the football, and then we don't speak about that because they're all a bunch older than me. Like they all know I edit for a podcast, and as far as they're aware, I get paid to edit a podcast. I don't. But it kind of links back to what you said earlier about the whole, it's kind of harder to say you're like doing content with like when you haven't really got the numbers to back it. It's like, oh yeah, like I can say, oh yeah, I run a podcast, but I do, but it's not exactly up there with Impulsive or Happy Hour or all them kind of ones,
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think one of the things for me, and this is so much easier said than actually done, but one of the things for me that switched for content was that level of embarrassment that like is so real and valid and okay.
Yeah, so it's good to have as well.
Yeah, to have, I think it's humility, maybe is a better word than embarrassment, but that letting go of it to an extent and being able to say, like, you are doing this, like, that for me at least was when I switched from being someone that just casually made videos here and there to someone that was able to confidently be like, no, like, I'm putting my all into this, I'm going to try this, and this is what I want to do. I think being almost like unapologetic about it whilst understanding, like, I can remember that switch and telling some of my IRLs and them not actually caring as much as I thought they would, it not actually being a thing where I was going like, oh, you know, like, please don't make fun of me, because they were just like, no, I don't care, like, cool.
I guess it's once again depending on the people you tell as well, because for instance in secondary, I had a YouTube channel at the time. I think everyone when they were younger who and is now a content creator had a smaller YouTube channel. I got very badly bullied for it, like very the videos weren't good, but it didn't warrant me being bullied. And I guess that kind of put me off, because when I did not start up InsaneOrbitzz until I left secondary school, which was when I was 16. And then now I've done the podcast since I uploaded 15 podcasts in 2022, and then I uploaded weekly since the end of April up until now. So, you know, and now I can confidently turn around and go, I'm a podcast host. And I have one of my close, like some of my close friends, I'm a podcast host. And it's like, oh, you realize, like, I upload 2 podcasts a week. I am a podcast host. So, and then even my parents, they're very much for it. Like, they're very much kind of like, they let me record, they let me edit. I mean, sometimes I'm staying up until 2 a.m. and then the next morning at 6 a.m. for work. And my parents are like, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, yeah, I can balance it. Because it's like, make myself tired now that I can have a sleep in hopefully by the end of the year, if it comes full time by the end of the year, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
So overall though, you have to be passionate about it. This kind of conversation has been a bit just into us talking, but that's nice. This is what I like, you know. Just have a conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
But you basically kind of knocking this all down into one. I guess it's just be passionate, right?
Yeah, 100%. Be passionate, and whilst having humility, be proud, be confident that you want to do this, and be able to say that. Maybe, in scenarios that make you unsafe, if someone's going to bully you, those people don't need to know about your passions and stuff, but the close people to you, the people you hold close to you, be able to say confidently, like, hey, by the way, like, I want to do this and I'm going to try, because sometimes admitting you're going to try is hard, but if you can't do that, are you really going to?
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, nowadays I've kind of just gone into this habit of keeping my head down, in a sense. Like, I don't know, I don't really, in all honesty, I don't really talk to any people. Everyone who went my secondary school, I don't talk to them. Like, one of my old best friends messaged me for the first time in like 9 months over Christmas. Other than that, I haven't talked to anyone from school in about a year, give or take. And I don't really have many, in quotation marks, IRL friends, but then that's kind of linking back to like my online friends, the people who know me. They see, the thing is, when I met them, I was doing a podcast. At least in this community, when I met them, I was doing a podcast. So that's all they've ever known. So it's different because we're all in the same boat, essentially.
Yeah, I get that.
So, you know. But yeah, you don't always have to tell everyone. Sometimes you can just keep your head down, grinding, and once it becomes something successful or something big that you're like ready to, that's when you can turn around and then, you know, if they mock it, I mean, you're a full-time content creator, so who's really winning, you know?
Yeah.
I guess another question then before we move on is, how comes you moved from New Zealand to the UK, if you're fine with sharing that?
Yeah, of course. This was a super long process that then sped up suddenly. So there's a long-winded like period from when I started content creation, or I guess not from when I started content creation, but when it picked up enough that I was like, okay, I'm doing this is my job now, to when I decided to move to the UK, where I was just basically trying to move to America. At the time, all of my content friends were American, and I wanted to be close to them. I wanted to be able to go to the meetups that they were doing. I wanted to meet them in real life and stuff, because I'm a very sociable person in real life. So when I got to that point in content creation that I was hanging out with online friends, with other streamers all day, I kind of like, it made me sad that I couldn't meet up with them, basically. And so I was really, really trying to move to America, but if you've ever tried or looked into American visas, it is not easy. It was not going to happen, basically. I was fresh out of high.
You need a visa, right?
Yeah, you need a ESTA. But yeah, basically at that point, I was like trying my best to try and get into America, and it was not, what is it called? Like, possible. It was not happening. So I got to this. I remember it was a night. Like, I'm trying to think back to all the different things that happened. There was a night where I was on call with my dad, and we were looking into Canada because I was like, okay, that's at least close to America. And he was helping me look at visa stuff and talking about like this internship that could go through the company he worked for. And we basically just worked out that it wasn't possible. And I remember getting off call with my dad and like tearing up a little because I was like, oh, I'm really like, I'm just going to be super far away from all of my close friends all the time and not be able to see them and stuff. Because yeah, I don't know, I was in a bad mood. And I opened Twitter on my phone, and the first tweet that popped up was Owen tweeting, hey, does any content creator want to move to Brighton in a month?
Oh.
And at this time, like it just like it was so perfect that's the tweet that I opened Twitter to. So I replied and I was like, hey, I'm a British citizen, so this would actually be possible. And we DM'd about it, and a month later I had signed my lease to move to the UK. Me and Owen were moving in together.
When was this?
Even
what
though
was this, sorry?
This was the end of 2021. Okay. I moved in with Owen January 2022.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, and at that point, I didn't really know that the UK was kind of the best place to be for Minecraft content creation. Again, all of my content. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about Brighton. I didn't know where I was moving to. I had one British content friend, really. I had a couple other people that I knew, but I wasn't super close with. And I was just basically doing it because New Zealand is so far away from everything. I knew that the UK would at least be a bit closer, and from the UK I could visit my friends in America, which it didn't end up being as much of a thing. I realized, oh wow, like the UK is perfect for content creation, and I made a bunch of awesome friends and stuff in Brighton. But that was kind of the general process, was just like New Zealand was too far away. I needed to be somewhere, and the UK came up as an option. I moved in with Owen, who is incredible, and I'm very glad that happened. And now here I am.
So you still living in Brighton with Owen then?
No,
I was gonna say, I thought you lived in London, right?
No, I live in Sheffield now, but I've moved. Yeah, since moving to the UK, I lived with Owen for a year in Brighton, and then I lived in Birmingham for 4 months, and now I live in Sheffield. yeah, Birmingham was rough.
This entire time I thought you lived in bloody London. Oh my days. Okay.
No.
I guess what strikes me was, I think I saw like a tweet from Maddie saying about going to London, and then obviously the pictures as well.
Yeah,
which kind of cemented like, yeah, they live in, but never mind. So you went from south up to north, and then are you settled down there, do you reckon? Or
we'll see. I'm since I joined that school, basically I've constantly been on the move since I was about 15 years old. I've moved on my own to a bunch of different places, and so it's kind of unpredictable. If an opportunity arises that offers me, if an opportunity arises to experience something new, something that I haven't experienced before, I will pretty much always say yes. So I can't sit here and confidently be like, oh yeah, I'll definitely be here. But I'm happy here. I'm enjoying living here. I have a good little group of friends in Sheffield that I enjoy hanging out with and stuff, and I'm very grateful for. So we'll see.
Fair enough, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to get too personal there. I guess it kind of just all linked
with
each other. So I've always said I either want to stay in London and move into central London, or I want to move to Brighton. I'm kind of we're torn right now. But Brighton can be expensive, especially for how much you
Brighton is expensive.
Well. So I'd have to be doing pretty well with content to actually fully decide if, because either both is expensive. So it's like I've chosen two other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. Moving back into your content life then, Acho, I think it's time we talk about SMPs. We've been recording now for over 40 minutes. Oh my. Okay. I didn't realize the time.
I can, yeah.
and we're yet to talk about like your most prominent part of content, I guess. So prominent nowadays part of content. It's what I know you more for anyways. SMPs. So I had KOF on the podcast a while back. I'm not sure if you listened, but I know you saw it. And something that they mentioned was that you and him signed up to Origins SMP. You did a video application together, am I correct?
Outsiders. It was Outsiders.
Why have I said Origins? I have Outsiders. Acho signed up with Kyle Duro into Outsiders SMP. So why have I said Origins? Sorry. You signed up together for Outsiders SMP. It was the first SMP that was taken over by Power Creations but not as power creations at the time. So there you go. I
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about. What was the deal with the duo application? I want to hear it from your POV.
Yeah, I think Kyle and I, by this point, as streamers, we'd gotten, streamers and friends, we'd gotten close enough that we kind of did things as a duo. Like, if I was thinking about doing something, I would text Kyle and be like, hey, what do you think of this, or whatever. And alongside everyone in the content scene, we had gotten, like, I wasn't bored of Bed Wars by this point, but I was looking at people that created other content, recognizing that it looked like a lot of fun. So I had seen Owen, who was on another SMP beforehand that Kyle and I were also on, and I had seen Owen's TikToks on Outsiders, and I was like, oh, this content is like super inspiring. I want to do stuff like that. I want to be on Outsiders. So when Outsiders application started, I texted Kyle and I was like, hey man, we should apply. We sat in call, I think, that entire day, just like writing script and deciding to actually do it. And I remember at the time, a similar way to that conversation of going like, oh, I want to be a content creator was embarrassing, because I was a Bed Wars streamer and most of my other friends were just Bed Wars streamers, going like, oh, I want to join this lore-based SMP, felt like a little bit of a like embarrassing thing to be doing, which is funny now because that's like my entire thing. But I like, it was very foreign to me as an idea to do. I've always enjoyed storytelling, and I've enjoyed film and literature and writing things, so it made sense logically that I was interested in it. But yeah, Outsiders changed me a lot. It taught me a lot about content and stuff, considering as well how much, because once I got on, it was still so new to me. I didn't actually play Outsiders as much as I would now if it was a thing again. I look back and I'm like, wow, I didn't spend that much time on that server, but it truly taught me so much, and also set off a spark in me to want to keep telling good stories, telling impactful stories and stuff like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. It was harder for you to get involved in lore because of time zones.
Oh god, yeah.
I heard something about having to wake up at 6 a.m. to get involved in lore, so it wasn't really too ideal for you, Outsiders.
Yeah, I didn't even I obviously that's been something I've thought about a lot, but I didn't think about that just now when I was talking about it. Yeah, if I wanted to stream on Outsiders during my normal stream time, which I don't think I ever did, no one would ever be online. So if I wanted to stream alongside other people, or if I wanted to be a part of any of the events that happened every couple of weeks, or probably not on Outsiders, I'm thinking of other projects, but any of the like main lore story pieces, if I wanted my character to be involved, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. or not sleep, as I probably did back then, and stay up until 6 a.m.
If you don't mind sharing, what was like, I can imagine it was quite hard going from having your Bed Wars viewers into having SMP viewers. So how did you, because I feel like I did a good job, but now like I average about 4 viewers on Twitch, which I'm fine with, like I don't mind. But you know, the switch from Bedrock content to Java content, I know they're different platforms, but I feel like I was still relatively doing the same thing, just on a different platform. However, my viewers just tanked. So how exactly did you save it? Was it because like you were involved with SMP lore, so you quickly got introduced with a new community, or do you ever know, or is it just something that kind of just happened?
That's an interesting question. I think Outsiders probably isn't the project to look at that too specifically for, because I think Outsiders did well enough as its own thing that I didn't have to worry too much. Like, Outsiders was a really big project to be a part of, so it was like, even though I was a sizable creator, I think I was averaging like 120 as a Bed Wars streamer, they were at completely different times, so it was almost like streaming to a different audience. I do remember like the one funny story to do with this is that my very, very first lore stream, I had a lot of my regulars there because it was like huge for me at the time. It was like really cool to be part of this project. And so a lot of my regulars were there, and in a similar way to like we have all the bits in the community now, they created their own little bit with it, because I think most of them just didn't watch lore streams. So they were like, this is not my my style of content. What do I do? So they turned it into a joke where they were, I can't even remember. They were just talking about like calling themselves insiders and like just doing like little bits like that in chat. So whilst I was trying to be super serious in my very first lore stream and I was super nervous and everything, I turned over and looked over at my chat and they were all like laughing and joking and doing little bits and talking about balls or something like that. I can't remember specifically.
Nice.
But they were all joking around and I was trying to be all like dark and serious and stuff. And I remember that being very funny, where it was a bit of an adjustment for them. I think the other thing is that as much as I only did Bed Wars before that point, somehow a lot of my viewers weren't Minecraft viewers, weren't Bed Wars viewers. Sorry. So a lot of them, I think even now, like a lot of my viewership, no matter what I stream, they're pretty happy to come along to those streams and stuff, as long as I'm like being me and yapping and stuff. But I do think there was a general bit of it where I hadn't done anything like that, so it was hard for them to take me serious and hard for them to take the story serious. And I think it took until Rats for that to really change.
Speaking of Rats, perfect transition.
Yep.
So this was the second SMP, or like, I mean, maybe you played in a few here and there, but I'm going to mainly talk about, Outsiders, Rats, and Pirates, and then obviously you have something else, another SMP that you want to touch on. But with Rats SMP, you were invited to this, I believe. You didn't have to apply to this, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned, you got to go on, take the floor with whatever. Now.
It's interesting with Rats because like when it started was when I was living with Owen. So Owen had started Power Creations and stuff, but I didn't know what the project was until one random night. I had finished my own stream. Owen had finished his stream, and I was walking through the hall in our old apartment, and Owen like opens the door from his bedroom and he goes, "I have an idea." And he tells me about it. He's like, "Rats in Minecraft, like we're little small and we live." I don't know how developed the idea was at that point, but essentially Rats in Minecraft. And it was always the like dancing around where I'd go like, "Oh my god, that's so cool, like I'm so excited about that idea," but not wanting to assume that he was inviting me to also be on the project.
Yeah, just running it through you kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't remember if he said that day that I would be on it or not, but over the next couple of weeks, whenever he was like developing something for it, when he was talking to No Name about them building some of the code or like the back end for different things, he would just like keep me posted about updates and stuff, and I'd ask him about it and stuff. Obviously we lived together, so we were talking about what we were both working on. So getting to see it from that perspective, I got like a great appreciation for how much work goes into the Power Creation stuff, but also I got to sort of like input into the ideas and stuff and see the behind the scenes of it all, and at some point it probably came up as a conversation where I was like, dude, this is so cool, like I want to be involved in this. And because Owen and I were close, like he was like, yeah, of course I'm going to invite you. It was like it was stupid of me to even think that needed to be a conversation, and that was obviously nice. But yeah, that's how the start of Rats happened. I do want to say, just for the sake of like consistency, I was on another SMP between Outsiders and Rats called Area Unknown, which I didn't do much storytelling on. Yes, I'm still on Area Unknown. I'm just very inactive.
Yeah, I watch Heike Hamey stream that quite a decent amount.
Yeah. So the early Area Unknown was full vanilla, and I had a character and everything. I just never did the lore stuff for the character. I just kind of like had the idea for it and did like a couple little bits unintentionally with my friends on there. It was a lot of fun. Early Area Unknown, I was involved with a lot more, and I had a lot of fun during that period of time. I will definitely end up back on Area Unknown at some point because I love everyone that's involved in that project and stuff. But yeah, that was it didn't do much for lore stuff, but it got me, I think, a little bit more comfortable with streaming SMP style content, because even after Outsiders, I went back to Bed Wars, and then after that, I switched to Hardcore and Area Unknown streams, and between Hardcore and Area Unknown stuff, I became a lot more of a survival Minecraft streamer, which I worked for me than being a Rats, even though Rats is a lot different to regular Minecraft. I think that helped me a lot for switching that style of content.
I think that's where my issue lies wise, I don't really know what I want to do with streaming. Like, I struggled to find interest when it comes to just playing the game. Like, I streamed for half an hour the other day and I was kind of already done with MCC Island. I don't want to stream Hoplite because I know I'll kind of get into the whole grinding aspect of things, but then I'll be bad at the PvP and that'll just throw me off. You know, I've tried hardcore, it was fun, but once I got full netherite armor, I didn't want to do the building aspect of things. So it's like, what do I do? Like, that's why I kind of had the podcast, but I can't exactly do the podcast on streams. So that's why most of my streams now are kind of just me sitting there chatting, but then it's kind of hard to build something on that, especially without a face cam. I'd love to do a face cam. There's a reason I don't, and it's because just like I can have a green screen in my room, but the way my room's set up, it's just too small to like get a green screen behind me. I don't want my backdrop because my backdrop isn't nice. So I think like one day when I move out, I'd love to do face cam, but it's hard to choose what I want to do because it's very much trying to build on my personality and on my voice. But other than that, I can't really do much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I find it super interesting breaking down content and how you grow and stuff. And I think Twitch right now is in a dreadful place for doing that, for going from like at any point to building a new audience that you didn't have prior. And I look at it, and even if we were to go back to peak, what is it called? To like peak COVID, when there was a bunch of viewers and a bunch of influx and stuff. I even then, I don't know how I grew. I have said this a lot, but I didn't like have a strategy. I just streamed a lot. I posted on TikTok for about a week, and I have like 10,000 followers on TikTok, but those are all from that week of posting. And then I didn't like the viewers I got from TikTok, so I stopped posting. I don't know. Growing on Twitch is literally unfathomable to me. I do not know how you do it, even though I did it. So it's hard to break down those issues, I think. But the most important thing, and the only piece of advice I can really give, and what I think did help me, was that I am always doing something that I would enjoy, whether it was on or off stream. I'm doing something that like I'd have fun doing no matter what. Because when someone new comes in, that's the part I cannot work out how you do it on Twitch. Is like to get someone new to come in, no clue. But when someone does come into your stream, if you aren't having fun, they are not going to like enjoy watching the stream. So that's the bare minimum. That's the most important thing, I think, is doing something that you would do on or off stream and having fun with it. And I know that's cliche, but that's literally the only piece of advice I've always given when anyone in my chat is like, how do you grow? How do you do this? I'm like, I have no clue. But have fun with it. There's no point otherwise.
I saw something on Twitter. It was like, you know how you mentioned about it being the first thing that you saw? This was what I saw as well. And it's like a bit of Twitch advice. I don't normally look at those threads, and I don't normally read them because I'm like, they're all kind of just silly. But in this one, I was kind of being curious about for some bizarre reason. And I read it, and they said something that I thought, oh, actually, this is maybe a good bit of advice. They called it the 15-second rule. They said always act like somebody new's clicking on your stream, and act like you would for 15 seconds if you knew they were there or something like that. Yeah, it's like, because that's actually a really interesting piece of advice.
That is an interesting,
I've never heard of the 15-second rule before, so
yeah.
But you know, I mean, during COVID, I was averaging some like between 40 and 60 viewers. I was living a time of my life. But the thing is, what I always look back and I realize as well, and it's kind of sad, but I'm open to admitting it, is I never appreciated it enough. I always wanted more. During the time, I always wanted more. Like, I was averaging 60 viewers, and instead of being happy with it, I wanted 15 more so I could get a partner. And I know everyone does, but that was my goal. That was like, in the end, I was kind of forcing myself to stream sometimes just so I could try and get the viewer count up. And it's like,
partner grind is dreadful, is such a harrowing thing.
But yeah, exactly. But I mean, I just more so, it wasn't just a partner grind, it was more just so like, even had I ended up getting partner, there probably would have been a stage where I'd be like, okay, now I want 100 viewers, I want this, I want that, and I'd never appreciate enough. And now I kind of turn around and look back on it and like realize, where would I have been? But then it's also a case of, there's a reason I didn't appreciate enough, because now I appreciate the viewers I get on the podcast, and you know, you
get a different perspective on things.
Exactly. I mean, I don't average loads of viewers on the podcast, I know that, and I'm open to admitting that, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Whereas like me 2 years ago with this view count, I would have already stopped doing the podcast. But then if I'd already stopped, and I wouldn't have been sitting down with you, and I wouldn't have sit down with some of the really cool creators I have. I mean, you know, the podcast that came out on Friday from when I'm recording this was the Apocuna podcast, and they said the exact same thing you did when Owen said about the idea. There was like, imagine there's rats in a house in Minecraft, and you both said it literally word for word the exact same way. And it's cool painful to hear that. But had I have given up earlier this year because I didn't appreciate the viewer counts, I would have never heard both of you say the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes with naivety. I think I had a pretty poor mindset towards streaming and towards numbers and stuff. It sounds similar to how you did when you were streaming during COVID, probably because we're the same age or similar age, in that like we were younger, you're a little naive, and also any amount of like random influx of viewers or numbers or whatever, it kind of like that's not meant to happen. Our like
COVID
brains
wasn't meant to happen, have your account.
Yeah, but just like computers in general aren't meant to exist in nature. Like they aren't a natural thing that our brains are built to process. And so I think any way that you react to that is completely valid as long as you learn and grow from it. And so I look back on it and I'm like, there's definitely like ways that I approached content or ways that I thought about numbers that were immature when I was like starting out in my first like 6 months, where I had just gotten like a flux of viewers and a huge influx of followers. And so like I was looking at things, I think, a little bit more analytically, and I'm at a point now where like I couldn't tell you what my stream today averaged. I couldn't tell you what my stream last week averaged. I have no clue, because even though it's my job, I'm aware of the fact that on Twitch there's so little control. When I have a bad stream in terms of viewership, it is not because unfortunately, I would much rather I be in control of this and be able to say like, oh, it's because I did something wrong or I did something well. But unfortunately, Twitch is just like unpredictable, and that unpredictable nature means like as long as I keep making stuff I'm proud of and I keep improving day by day, I'm happy with it. Obviously, you can look at it and there's nothing wrong with it, but you can look at it and go like, okay, if I post on this platform to promote it and stuff, because that's reality. For Twitch, you should be posting on other places. If you really want to grow, you should be posting on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. I know obviously the podcast has a YouTube, so there's other avenues of streams.
InsaneOrbitzz at the time had a YouTube, and I was constantly pumping out content on that. So
but just that's basically for me. If you're looking at just Twitch, I don't think looking at analytics and thinking about them helps at all, and I've learned that now. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with having that naive younger perspective, as long as what you're doing right now is happening, where you're going like, oh, I look back and it's like, oh, I didn't appreciate that at all. Now you appreciate it. You've learned that lesson, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree with you on like part of the aspects of like the viewer counts not being in full control. But I think with how I mentioned earlier that like I don't really know what I want to do with my streams, is I think a part of it is because of me as well. Because I look here and I go live and I see all the other people are live, and I'm just like, it's understandable why viewers who when I started in this community would watch me choose like not to watch both streams at the same time. I look back and I'm like, there are better streamers than me, and I guess that's part of, and that's not me trying to be like, oh, a good streamer. It's like I'm so realistic to the point where, I mean, it's like I said to Apo on that. Sorry, I know I'm referring to another podcast again, but I hope that's all right.
No, you're good. Good. I love Apo, so it's fine.
It's like I said to him straight up, I said I'd love to join one of Creation's SMPs. I'd love to, but I'm not going to commit myself to it, and I know I'm not. I'd love to do an SMP, but have I got the time to do it with work, with the podcast, with hopefully streaming, with spending time with family and stuff? No, I'm not going to. And it's like, I'm real in an aspect of I'd love to, but that's not me going, oh, please invite me, please, because I know I'm not going to like play it loads, Yeah,
I think there's an interesting thing. I think this kind of discourse happens a lot more with video games, but I've seen it a lot where people basically go like, oh, how am I meant to compete with these? Like it'll be someone that works a 9 to 5 in real life job, and they're like, oh, I love playing Call of Duty growing up. I played so much Call of Duty, and I want to play the new Call of Duties. But every time I get on, there's a 14-year-old that does nothing other than play Call of Duty all day, that can play it way more than me, that can be way better than me. And you can look at it that way, and it's true. Like realistically, even myself, like there will always be, no matter who you are. I mean, obviously there's someone that spends the most time or spends the most effort, but most of the time, no matter who you are, unless you are the one person at the top, there's someone working harder than you. There's someone that maybe is quote unquote better than you. It's very hard to measure content creation in terms of like better than, but like there will always be that. So if you break it down that way, I think it can be a little bit demoralizing, or a little bit like it's important maybe to be honest with yourself about it and be honest with it. But I always looked at Twitch and saw it as like people couldn't like when I look at other content creators, I don't think that often someone else is stealing views, not stealing, but like someone else being a better streamer takes views from you. I think you being a better streamer than yourself a month ago or 6 weeks ago or yesterday is the only real way that you gain viewers. I don't think you get them from being better than someone else or from like them stealing your viewership or anything like that. In a way. So I feel like it's less productive to look at it that way. Yeah, no, I know, but I'm more in a general context. Like I think it should always just be like be better than you were before and keep improving as a content creator.
I mean, more what I was trying to get as well, just to kind of emphasize on here, was like sometimes I'll be live and I'll be live for maybe like 45 minutes and I'll end my stream just to go watch someone who's just gone live because I just and it's horrible mentality, and I know it is, and I know it's horrible, but I mean, I just don't put in the work for streaming as much as I used to, and I know that, and I can fully admit that. But at least I can turn around and sit down with you right now and fully admit I am ending my stream sometimes so I can go and watch a streamer I'd like to watch, you know? And like sometimes I'll even raid into them. I mean, like, you know, sometimes like during your subathon, for instance, you might go into a game and I'm like, oh, I want to watch Acho play that game. So I'll end my stream to go and watch you play the game because I'm just like, because I haven't got the mentality of I want to stream because I don't know what I want to do yet. I haven't found it. I had it. There's MCC Island, but I don't want to keep streaming MCC Island. I haven't found love for it much. So what do I do next? That's why I put so much time into the podcast. That's why I upload twice a week. And I guess that kind of links back to your there's always someone working hard in you. A lot of people are like, oh, how do you do it? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, how do you upload 2 podcasts like weekly? I'm putting in the work for it, you know. I want
that's what you want to be doing right now. So,
you know, that's why I do a lot more podcasts than I do streaming. To answer anyone who's been asking why do I not stream so much anymore, if you're listening, that's why. So
that's fair.
But Rats SMP.
Oh god.
Do you have any fun stories about that?
Oh god, Rats was a very fun project. I find it interesting to look back on because I now having the context of like pirates versus, or not versus, but pirates and Rats. I had the most fun so far on pirates, but I know most of the people that have been involved in both projects had more fun on Rats because of the playful energy of it, because of it being, I think, a little bit more laid back, a little bit less heavy. I look back on Rats so fondly. There are days where I'm like, oh, I would love to just roleplay as a silly little rat right now, which is such a weird concept to understand or to know.
I get it, though. I get it.
Yeah. I can't think of like one individual, like one of the funniest memories or whatever. There's a lot of like funny different like little parts throughout Rats and stuff. But realistically, I just think it was a cool thought exercise for myself. Like the part where I look at it and I'm like, this is how it improved me. This is how it intellectually challenged me. It is going like the way that it got me to. I think being a rat was so different to being to anything else that the character I made was so much more unique than characters I often thought about or like characters I maybe would have written for anything else. And so being able to do that, it kind of forced me into this bubble of like, oh, I really want to create something that makes my rat unique, makes my rat stand out against all the other rats, so that when people see this like Rats project, I can go like, oh, you remember the purple one, the poet one, the one that, you know, had this story arc. I wanted to make sure that the content I was making was special on Rats, and so I think I spent a lot more time thinking about it in that way, and going about it in that way. But yeah, I loved Rats. I was very excited when the project finally started, and I look back on it and I'm just like super proud of everyone that was involved in it. It's also the time I met a lot of those people for the first time.
Based on just what you said here and based on what I know, because obviously I keep saying obviously, it's not obvious. So I wasn't really around for Rats. I wasn't around at all for Rats. I know about the Rats SMP panel at TwitchCon, didn't go to it because I had no clue what it was, but I know a lot of content creators. I just like recently interacted with in this community or went to it. But just based on what you said and stuff, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like, you know, it was a lot more fun because Pirates was very like in depth, like, you know, really in in-depth, serious kind of vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about, you know, your how you saw off pirates, which was amazing. I just want to say that, by the way. But
thank you.
just like that blip alone, or that like whole interaction alone, compared to what you've explained about rats, that's probably why it was like more, not more memorable, for example, but like, you know, it was silly, goofy, I'm a rat in the house, compared to very in-depth, like sobby kind of. Not sobby.
Yeah,
you get what I mean?
We also had like on pirates, we're all in those different factions and stuff, and you kind of have to run between those areas to find each other. On rats, we all lived in one attic, and there was one main exit and one main entrance. So if you were streaming on rats at the same time as another streamer, you were guaranteed to run into that other streamer. Like it was going to happen. And so on pirates you have to go looking for them, but on rats
you didn't have
like,
to.
Yeah. On rats it was just like if you were online at the same time as someone else, you were going to have a conversation with them. And so I think for me, I stream solo 90% of the time, but I think for a lot of the other streamers that have been a part of rats and a part of pirates, they like having those interactions a lot. And so they enjoyed that side of rats, whereas for me that gave me a lot of anxiety because I don't know, I like hanging out with my chat and stuff like that. But yeah,
but new experience.
I loved rats. Yeah, I loved rats. I just like pirates more.
And then moving into pirates, which you liked more. So when you said it earlier about the people preferring rats more, I thought that was you as well, but you preferred pirates more, which is sorry, my bad. I picked that up wrong earlier on. I have a question. I don't really know what it means, so that's why I'm asking you. So I saw a tweet from early December. I think it was on the 11th of December. I don't have the Twitter name. I'm very sorry. But they made a tweet which you responded to, saying, on the brighter side, P! Acho did what C! Acho couldn't. What is C! Acho? What does this mean?
Okay, C! Acho 9 times out of 10 refers to outsiders.
Oh, why is
because
it
C means canon. So the whole exclamation mark thing starts with, I mean, it's not unique to our community.
Pirates, yeah.
It's pirates now, yeah. But C! Exclamation mark it just means canon. So all of them are technically a version of C! Exclamation mark because they're my canonical character. It's a way for them to differentiate between talking about me as a content creator and me as a character.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the C part meant. So I was like, C?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be O, right?
Yeah. So C is the original form of that. I need to find. Was there an image on that tweet?
No, it was just a tweet.
Okay.
I think I might have it bookmarked, and if I do, I can give credit to the person I found it from. Which account did I bookmark it on? Was it this account? No, it was the podcast account I bookmarked it on, which is ironic because it was for the podcast.
Okay, I found it. I found it.
Oh yeah, it's from Kelp. Oh Kelp art. And you replied to it. What did you say? You said
okay, I didn't
explained it. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him what it meant. I was confused about it. I said, am I stupid? What does this mean? Basically, on Outsiders, spoilers if you're somehow listening this far into the podcast and you haven't seen Outsiders, which is so old at this point. On Outsiders, my character almost died, and in order for me to not die, Kyle's character saved me. Oh. So Pirate Acho in this case
Kyle
now.
Oh no,
Kyle did die. Yeah, spoilers.
Oh, okay. Right. I'm
so
sure
Kyle died
now,
saving me. Yeah, exactly. Kyle died saving me on Outsiders, and Scott almost died saving me on Pirates, but that's P. Acho saved Scott in the way that C. Acho didn't save Kyle.
Okay, alright. That just makes the sob story even bigger. Oh no, okay. So earlier on, I guess we've already said spoilers multiple times, so people know there's going to be multiple spoilers. It's with what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So earlier I mentioned about the piece, or like the way you saw off Pirates SMP. It was amazing. I stand by it. Absolute beautiful piece of art. And you've already kind of touched on it there about saving Scott and stuff like that. Can you just I guess just explain that entire thing, the thought behind it, how you went and you sat in front of the stars. Obviously, I followed your pirate streams quite heavily, especially the lore parts. Even if I missed a stream, I actually went back and forth, watched you a lot. Did the same with Kyle. So what are some? What is the whole in detail about that?
Yeah, I going into Pirates, I spent more time than I did with Rats, and I didn't spend any time on this before going into Outsiders, building building up a story that I wanted to tell throughout the project. I did it on Rats, but not to this extent. So it's kind of nice to see like the slow progression of this, of like building a story and like prepping it and everything. But I had key components that I knew I wanted to hit. I just didn't know how they would manifest themselves in relation to other people's characters and stuff. So Scott and I's lore building throughout gave me obviously a very easy character to use along, or not use, because like obviously Scott, it's good for Scott's story as well, but someone to have as a plot device for my own story and for the way that I wanted to go about it. So I planned having that underground tavern that Scott and I go to, the city of Kishi. I had that all planned from the very, very beginning, and having it reference the poem Ozymandias and everything like that was important to me because I've wanted to make a reference to Ozymandias in an SMP for so long. It's one of my favorite pieces of literature. But further than that, it overall as a story, the lesson of it, or the most important thing, or the way that it works through emotions, all of that is a result of me writing a story unintentionally to help myself work through something I was struggling with in my own life. And so the concept of loss and death is something that I've thought about a lot over the last couple of years. I've unfortunately lost a few people close to me in that broad period of time.
Sorry.
And so it was one of those things that I wanted to work through, obviously, and then I ended up writing a story that directly reflected it, and it made it very easy to play a character going through that because I could understand those emotions deeper, and doing it in character as well kind of helped me to see it from an outside perspective, maybe be kinder to myself. But also, I think the cool part of it is seeing other people relate to it with their own stories and seeing them connect to it and everything. And so telling a story that had those themes and stuff, it's really powerful to me, but it's also super silly to look at and be like, wow, I worked through this, traumatic experience, this very emotional thing in my life. Part of the way I worked through it, and I'm continuing to work through it, was Minecraft roleplay. And I think that's really silly, but I also think it's really cool because there's so many awesome people that are also invested in the story and who've watched it from start to finish, and now, have hopefully been helped through their own things, or, just at least have a story that they enjoyed watching, that they found entertaining, emotional, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're not saying like it's silly in like an actual silly way, but like, I mean, it's kind of, I reckon it has. If it's helped you, it's helped other people. It's the same way, like a little while back, we did a mental health podcast back in November for men's mental health, and I talked about a lot about my own experiences, which I don't really talk about a lot, but I came out and talked about on the podcast, and so be it. That podcast didn't do well for views per se, but there's a part of me that hopes that it had an impact on at least one or two people listening. And if your story was made for that reason, and that someone going through the same thing probably picked up on that, and it probably helped them. And it's all about dealing with it in specific ways. Connected, exactly. Yeah. And then it meant even more, and I was able to get more involved. And like that, people find copium and not copium, shouldn't use that word here, but people find comfort in different ways. And one of them is through doing things that you enjoy, things that you love. And one thing you did was through Minecraft roleplay, and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very great piece of storytelling. And then at the end, you sat, you looked to the stars, you were talking. It's like, it was very emotional. It was.
Yeah.
I tend not
that
to
was the goal
for roleplay, but it was. You are very talented. I'll give you that much, Acho.
I appreciate it. It's cool to see as well, because I think if I attempted anything even slightly as Koran does that story in 2020. Whenever I was in Outsiders, that period of time, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to telling as good a story as that. So it's nice to look at it and be like, wow, I started on Outsiders and I was super amateur, and my acting on the server was not that great, and my writing was like all right looking back on it and stuff. I look on it fondly because it was fun, but seeing the comparison now, it's really cool to be like, yes, I improved.
That links back to what we were talking about earlier, looking at yourself, for instance, with the podcast. I always say it, like, I sometimes look back on old podcasts and I'm like, they are just not good compared to how I can talk now. Like the way I've just been able to sit, like the way, you know, even the way we joined the call, you know, I made the joke about being a massive fan, which was like the way I said it was a joke, not me being a fan. Of course, I'll admit that, you know, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I'm not sitting in the call, I'm not fanboy, and I'm not careful about what I'm saying. I'm not all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm just having a conversation with you as a human. And back in the day with the podcast, I could do that with people I'd interacted with. But if I'd gotten someone on who I hadn't interacted with, it's all about growth. It's all about improving yourself. And you know, you've done an amazing job of doing that. So I'm excited to see what your next SMP venture is like.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Hopefully, it's another step above. Hopefully, it just keeps keep improving.
You on Pirates, correct me if I'm wrong again here, and this is my own piece of just from what I remember, so it could be completely wrong. You grinded to be one of the richest pirates, right or no?
Yeah, I had I think I peaked at 150,000 gold, something like that.
Was it hard, kind of not throwing it all down the drain, but you grinded that long? Like, did you always have this ending from the start, or was it because I know you mentioned about how you wanted to go with your character, but was it always going to end like this? Was there little parts?
That's actually. I didn't know my character was gonna die when I started writing.
Oh, you didn't choose it.
Oh, I did choose that in the end, but that wasn't one of the things that I. Yeah, so I planned a lot of things from the start, but my death was not actually one of them. Ooh. It got later and later in Pirates, and I hadn't decided whether I wanted my character to die or not. And eventually, I was basically because my character hasn't died in another project, and because I had the perfect opportunity. Me and Scott were going to do that stream in Kishi either way. It was just whether or not I died when we were in there. So looking at it, it was that was the perfect place to die. That was the perfect stream to do it on and stuff. And so it was okay, this all fits. But yeah, that was my approach. Was there I feel like I didn't answer a question. I feel like I said
you answered it. I mean, okay, I guess because I was kind of building into a second part of the question as well. So that's probably where you get it from is I mean, you've kind of answered it in this, because I was going to say, how does it feel kind of grinding to be that rich and then your character just dies?
That was the money.
All that progress. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, because actually right at the end, before I leave the Pirate Isles, I took all of my money out and I put it in a chest for Scott to have. So I gave it all to Scott, but I did have one thing that I was sad about that with, which was just that Pirates was ending too soon for me to do this. I wanted to get 1 million gold on the server. However, the time that we had, that was just not possible for me to do because there was a golden hull, which just was like your boat made of gold, and I really, really wanted that. But I can proudly say that when I took all my money out of my vault, and pretty much for the last month of the server, I individually had more gold than every other pirate combined.
Oh.
Which is kind of funny.
And then you died. So it shows that you can't take money with you, right? If you're ever going to take if you're going to take a serious topic from this,
Yeah, I mean that is actually one of the lessons of pirates, hedonism, or the opposite of hedonism, in that there's no value in physical possessions and stuff like that. That is one of the key themes of my personal story that I wanted to tell.
There we go. See, I got it. I mean, mine kind of came from Ebenezer Scrooge, but it works. It works. I picked up what you were putting down. There we go. So
yeah.
And then I guess that's it for the SMP talk. Unless you have something that I haven't mentioned that you wanted to talk about, but I feel like we've covered the SMP section of this pretty well.
No, yeah, 100%. I have fixated so much on pirates, so I can talk about random things for too long. So it's good. I think we left it there in a good place with a lesson.
And plus, if you want to know more about pirates, or you have any questions about pirates yourself, from when this podcast is coming out, Acho will be back to streaming. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can catch our streams
live.
Some other topics then, which I don't think we're going to be talking about for too long, but they're cool topics to touch on nonetheless. Okay. One of them is tournaments. So once again, I don't really have too much to touch on here. You play in Block Wars, you win MCC Rising 2, you were teamed with Gracie, Apo, Olive, I believe, and yourself, of course.
Yeah.
One question I asked, and I want to ask you now to see, does that final game of Battle Box haunt you?
Well, I was with Maddie in real life. talking about this literally yesterday because Maddie was one of the teams that cost us points in BattleBox. Maddie's team. They rushed and they didn't fight us. They didn't try and fight. Or they did fight us, I think, in the end. But they essentially used the strategy where you rush to fill in all the blocks, and it meant we couldn't.
Rush, yeah.
It doesn't haunt me too much. I went into Rising knowing that like I was gonna try, but that the difference between winning and not winning wasn't going to be a large factor in whether I had fun or not. And I look at Rising as a stream, and I think, like, I haven't watched a ton of MCCs, but I think the fact that it came down to that last BattleBox game and the way that the event played throughout, I think that is one of my most entertaining streams ever in general, even though I didn't perform to the level that I maybe would have liked to the entire time. I don't have too much like sadness looking back on it where I'm like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, damn it, Maddie, why'd you do that?
Do you know what I find quite funny? And I guess it's I'm looking into a bit of depth here, but it makes sense when you once you hear it. It's like, you, Racy, I'm not sure about Olive, but Apo, you're all like SM. Is Olive an SMP creator or not?
Yeah, Olive was on Rats and Pirates, but wasn't super active on Pirates because I think they've been busy with the IRL stuff. But yeah, Olive definitely, I would say, like, that's not all of Olive's content, but Olive does do SMP stuff, yeah.
Well, it's just coincidental then that you're all SMP creators, and one of the best pieces of MCC writing was that, like, genuinely, you physically can't get better than that of, like, had Lime have beat you, which they did, they would, and then when they went on to win Dodgeball, that meant that Llamas beat, was it Cyan, I think, in the finals in both MCC and MCC Rising 2. The exact same ending played out, but you guys could have stopped it, and in the writing, it came down to the final game, and you didn't. It's just crazy that you're all SMP creators, and the one thing that you couldn't write was one of the best pieces of writing there is for MCC.
We just naturally do it. It just comes naturally to us.
You purposely threw it as part of the lore. So.
Yeah, exactly. We could have won if we wanted to.
What's that whole experience like, though, MCC Rising 2? I've asked, like, I've had a lot of creators come on who were in but either of the MCC Risings, but it's always a nice question to ask because everyone has different views on it. So
yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It came at like a super stressful period of time in my personal life, so I was going through a lot leading up to the Rising, and I didn't have an apartment. I was staying at Lizzie and Joel's at the time, but Lizzie and Joel had gone on holiday, so I was on the street, not like actually, I was just staying at friends' houses, but I had to stream and play from Eloise's setup, so it was like the weird thing of, it's one of the most fun I've ever had on stream. It's such a well-run event. Nox Crew does such a good job and everything, and I had so much fun, but I was also super stressed and super upset that I wasn't able to stream from my own setup, because playing Minecraft on anyone else's setup, it always makes me play just like a little bit worse. But I think the most important thing, I look back now, like I met, or I properly got to know Maddie and Jack Pyrocythe and all of the other MCC Rising contestants throughout that period of time. So I'm very grateful for it, and there are so many lovely people that were involved that I have only good memories from it. Just interesting to look back and be like, damn, I had so much going on outside of it that I didn't really get to sit down and appreciate it. I didn't get to practice as much as I wanted to, and all of that stuff.
But you all did well anyways. Where did you place in Div?
4th, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 3rd. Okay, I guess your team did place 3rd, so probably why.
Yeah.
Still a good placement overall.
Yeah, I have a couple games I threw in that I'm like, man, I have no clue how much, because I can never know if playing on my own setup, like how much of a difference it would have made. But I look back and I'm like, man, it would have been nice to at least not have this excuse.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you can control, and you made do with what you had, and you did a great job. So
yeah, exactly.
It's all fun overall. So do you plan to play in any more tournaments? Do you hope to get in any more? Like, obviously you're in Block Wars. Do you hope to play in some more? Or
yeah, I think there hasn't been a new casual Block Wars, not Block Wars, sorry, Event. Because like Block Wars is almost too sweaty for me now. Not because I'm not good enough, but just because like I don't play in events to be super sweaty anymore. I enjoy winning them, but I don't like try hard practicing beforehand or anything. So like there's events that, like, to me, I put them in sort of two categories. There's like Block Wars and MCC, and I've done a few charity events where it's like their purpose for me is to just like have fun and goof around and stuff, and the mini games are all really like fun coded and everything. And then there are a few events that I haven't been in but I've watched that I look at, and if someone personally like invited me to their team or something, I maybe would consider it. But say I think there's, what is it, Pandora's Box, that's one. I look at it and I'm like, God, that just looks stressful. It looks like fun if you enjoy trying hard in Minecraft, and that is something I enjoyed for a very long time. So I can't look at it and be like, oh, these guys are cringe. But I look at it and I'm like, I would just be so stressed by it now, because my streams aren't centered around sweaty content or doing anything like that. And so there's events like that where it's like, I would gladly accept an invite if someone wants me to be on their team or whatever, for any event pretty much. If it's someone I know inviting me, like, I'll always give it a shot. But I'm definitely not going out and seeking events. I'm not trying to find events to join or anything like that. I'm just taking opportunities as they come, if they come.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can announce I recently became the player manager for Minecraft Mayhem, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, there you go. I think I was talking to Sandwich Lord about MC Mayhem, but I haven't watched anyone play it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of just had a whole like new overhaul with team makers, and then had me as player manager. It wasn't a reason I asked. It's just kind of just a topic. Yeah. I always ask people if they're in tournaments what their thoughts on tournaments are. So I thought that'd be fun to announce.
Valid.
And then I guess we're down to the final two topics now. Then Acho. One, you thought Rufflecopter was going to come late into the podcast. Now it's quite early. However, something that is coming late into the podcast, music. So,
okay.
I've saved it near to the end. So
okay.
I was listening to the Forever and Always album to remind myself earlier, and I have picked out a favorite song of mine from it.
Oh.
I'm a big fan of Complicated.
Valid. Complicated is a good song.
I like Complicated. What's the most popular song in that album? Actually, I never checked.
I'm glad it's over because.
Oh my god! Yeah,
we released it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we released it as a single ahead of time as well, and then obviously CG5 has a decent amount of pull as an artist.
Oh, okay.
His own stuff.
Oh yeah, they're verified as well. Are you verified? Yeah. Oh, you're verified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Spotify is like easy to do that. It's not a thing on Spotify.
Okay. So there's obviously the playlist, which is mainly you and Verb. Then there's I'm Glad It's Over. That's featuring CG5, which is the most popular one. And then you also made your own one called Tideblade, featuring. I'm going to butcher the name here, so I'm going to let you say the name.
Tideblade. We've got Roska, Miko, Valen, Young Van, and Sewer Person. They're all on.
Okay, that's a lot more.
Tideblade is one. Yeah, Tideblade is one song. But also one EP.
Okay, got you. So what's the deal with music? You haven't really made much in recent years. I remember you saying on stream it was because of your setup, right?
Yeah, I have a laptop now, so I no longer have an excuse. I have to start making music again now.
So you did find it on the Boxing Day sale then?
Yeah, I did end up getting one. Yeah. Music is something I've been doing since far before I was a content creator, or at least a content creator as Acho. I made music under a different alias and was completely like involved in a certain underground music scene, and I made a lot of friends, some of which are still people like I hang out with like in the content space because they are involved in it. Whether like one of them is Niz, who he was a streamer the whole time, or someone like Miko, where it's like Miko's just a good friend of mine. So I've tried to keep him involved in my friend groups and introduce him to people because he's really cool and stuff, and his own musician and content creator in his own right. But yeah, I've been doing music for a while. It's a really nice form of self-expression for myself. It's something I'm really passionate about, but also something that to me, as much as I release it under Acho and Acho is my job, I don't see it as part of my job or part of what I do for a living. Music is just something that I am super, super passionate about and enjoy doing. So whenever I want to do it, I do it. Whenever I don't want to do it, I don't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I know I'm full of compliments, but they are genuine compliments. You are good. Like that I did enjoy that. thing. I don't know. It's like I'm complimenting you about anything, but you know, it's true. Yeah, I try to be as positive and compliment the guests as much as I can because I bring you on because I find you interesting. You know, so obviously I want to compliment your content as well. But overall, yeah, it's good. I'm hoping to see some more from you. Maybe even drop your own album or EP or anything like that.
So. There won't be an album for a long time. Albums are so exhausting. But yeah, there should be music soon. Definitely one of those. I've been writing and stuff. I just haven't been recording. So it's just getting myself to record.
Okay. You heard it here first, pre-podcast highlights. There will be an Acho X Rufflecopter collab anytime soon. Absolutely zero context, but people in the highlights can hear that now and they can decide if they want to carry on watching a podcast due to it. So.
Oh my god.
And then
crazy.
Spoilers, my bad. Sorry, I forgot. I just saw your DM saying that I'm not allowed to say that publicly. My bad. oh well, it's not getting cut out.
Oh well, we'll leave it in the edit.
We'll leave it in the edit anyways, yeah, exactly. And then the final topic, before we move into the Twitter questions, is that you are a football fan.
Yes.
So why Chelsea?
When I was 8 years old, I had FIFA 09 on my PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3, one of the two. And FIFA 09, I used to play like against all my friends and stuff. We'd like be like sitting there gaming or whatever. And just my favorite team to play as was Chelsea. It was like that was it. I just enjoyed playing as Chelsea. And so I was like, this is my team now, and I've just stuck with them since. Obviously, since that point, I fell in love with the club. I've gotten to go to Stamford Bridge myself. I've watched like almost every season since then. There was a few year period where I wasn't that interested in football, but like I know everything there is to know about our squad now and transfers and stuff. Football is like one of my longest serving and one of my most like in-depth hyperfixations in my life, where I've just like, I love football, and I used to like, football was my entire life up until I was like 15. I used to play football like 7 times a week for trainings, and I had like 3 games. I played for 2 different teams. I was getting scouted and stuff, and then suddenly I wasn't as interested in it. But yeah, I used to be very, very good at football, and I used to be very, very heavily invested in it. So it's definitely something that I still just really, really enjoy and love.
Jeez, fair play. Okay. I up until recently supported Manchester United. So I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but there's context, and I'll provide it. So when I was younger, my uncle used to live up in Manchester, so he supported United. Of course, at the time, you know, they're only real team to support. Then when he moved down to London, he supported Arsenal. But because well, I guess it's just he supported teams he could watch locally.
Yeah.
But because he originally supported United, I carried on supporting United because I was like, and I was younger, so I was like, you know, I might as well just stick to it. And then, like, you know, I've supported them, you know, for ever since Fergie left. Like, I've still been a supporter. But then now I'm in a place where I'm older. You know, my parents have never been interested in football. So now that I'm at a place where I'm older and I can kind of decide for myself what team I want to support. I mean, I've never really been a solid supporter of a team, but I don't live too far from West Ham. So now I've been going to their games quite a lot. So I'm like, there's no point me going to their games and like rooting for them to win if I'm not gonna support them, you know?
Yeah,
like I might as well at that point. So
I mean, being a local team is a lot more of a reason to support them as well. I obviously didn't have that growing up because I lived in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Being like proximity to a team that's a pretty good justification.
I've got an agreement with my mate, and we both had disagreement. I won't watch Manchester away. Like why did I say Manchester? I won't watch United away. So if like, you know, West Ham are playing United, which they did, I didn't go and watch that game. I could have got tickets to it, but I didn't. And then one of my mates supports Arsenal. So what we've kind of agreed, because he also drinks as well. We both drink, so it's perfect. He'll come to West Ham games with me if I can get us tickets, and then I'll go to Arsenal games with him, kind of thing. And it just works out because it's someone to go and watch football with, you know. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really too much to it. I just wanted to know why you supported a really bad team, but yes, I gives good context.
Okay, but in our lifetime, in literally the last 20 years, Chelsea has won the most trophies of any club in England.
Yeah, but I mean, win
the goats.
Win your 10th, draw your 10th, lose your 10th.
No, that's my torturous cycle. No matter what happens. Yeah.
I respect it though, because I can no longer officially say that I stuck with my boyhood team. But I mean, I went went to a United Stadium, so I got one for Christmas back in 2018.
Yeah.
So like I've been
That's
to
cool.
the stadium, but I just thought like it'll cost me so much to get up to Manchester, and then for a ticket, why not just support the team I want to watch locally? And West Ham are a good, fun team to watch as well. So
yeah, that's fair.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, I kind of just wanted to, there wasn't really much to talk about. See, I told you
Yeah,
these
yeah.
topics were going to be little
football.
smaller ones, but I wanted to bring it
Yeah,
up
that's
to
all right.
ask. I know we share an FPL league, so that's pretty cool. I don't know how serious you take it, but
Where are you right now?
I think
pull
I'm
it up.
I think I'm 8th.
Oh my god, you're not doing good, man.
Wait, let me check.
Let me see. Let me check.
I'm in so many. Yeah, I'm 8th. You're in 2nd. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is my first time doing FPL since I was like 12, so I didn't actually know the rules.
Oh, well, you're doing better than everyone except for Bendo, so you know.
Yeah, well, I've been doing better than Bendo for like the last 10 match weeks, so I think I'm about to catch him. I'm like 3 points off. I literally like it took me maybe half the season to work out how to do everything, and now I've been doing really well. I've got a pretty good squad now. I gotta make a few transfers for next week, but
yeah, international.
I'm feeling good. Yeah.
I mean, I'm catching on 2nd right now, so you know that's my goal. End goal is to hope. No, sorry, not 2nd. I said that 6th. I'm hoping to place top half. There's 12 people, so if I can place top 6, I'll take that at this point, because I had the most horrible start with like injuries and just like bad picks and stuff. It's like yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
To be fair, I think I was like maybe 7th not that long ago. It's just like I finally worked it out. I finally clocked how to do FPL.
I mean, I've still got like players who haven't played yet, and I'm not far off. Like, you know,
yeah.
I'm like right now. Obviously, it's going to change after tonight's game, but I'm less than 100 points behind you, so there's still plenty of time to catch up. Just about if I actually do or not. We'll see. What's the deal with the team name? I'm not going to say it in case you don't want to reveal it.
No, it's all right. Schmunky. There's wait, I have to find the image. Basically, do you know who the artist Yeet is?
Maybe. I've probably seen one of their songs without realizing.
Okay, Yeet is like
Yeet. What the one who made IDGAF? Because I've just searched up. Is that
yes? Yeah.
I've listened to Flawless.
Okay, so Yeet is like such a character, but he posted on his story once this story which had no other context to it. Just my first baby gonna be named Schmunky, and the day I saw that, which this was like 2022, maybe 2021 even, I can't remember. But the day I saw that, I cried laughing at it. That's how funny I found it. Because,
stupid.
Like, what is it? I don't know what schmunky means. I don't know why he said that. And so when I joined the league, Fulham was like, the most important thing is your team name. Like, you got to pick a good team name. And I genuinely remember thinking about that for so long, like trying to work out how to, like what I should name my team. And I just ended up calling it schmunky.
See, my team's kind of, because I'm playing like so even though I don't talk to my old schoolmates, they keep inviting me to the FPL league, and I don't like anybody in it, but I join it anyways. So I'm just like, yeah, I might as well, right? So I couldn't really do an online creator name. I had to stick with just two square brackets as my one, which is kind of boring. But I reckon next season, if I can, because it was Fulham who invited me. Fulham invited me mid podcast. So if I ever get an invite back, I'll probably think of like a better name.
Yeah, that's valid.
But yeah, great backstory. So
Gosh, monkey.
Before we move into the Twitter questions then, Acho, is there anything that you thought was going to get brought up that didn't, or have we pretty much covered every topic?
I think we've covered, I mean, like, there's always something that could be missing. There's always something we could talk about, but I think we've covered a good range of things that feel good about it.
Fair enough. So I have 3 Twitter questions for you here. So the first one comes from Whaleation. I hope I said that right.
Whaleation.
I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to answer this, but I'll ask anyways.
Okay.
Do you have any future projects you're looking forward to?
Ooh. I think this will no longer be future by the time this podcast comes out.
This podcast comes out on the 12th.
Yeah. Me and Kyle have been working on an MMO server. Well, a Minecraft MMO server. So, I don't know. We played this mod pack once that Tubbo made like a little SMP for like a week on, and me and Kyle really enjoyed one of the mods in it. So then recently we talked about that SMP and we were like, like, hey man, like we should make a new one, but cater it more to that one mod we really enjoyed. And so we've been building up a whole mod pack and a group of people to do. It's one of those where it's like, it's not going to be storytelling or anything, and it's just going to be us grinding this MMO mod pack and having fun doing that and stuff.
That sounds fun, actually.
I'm excited for that. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I'm unfortunately gonna leave the country like right after we announce it and stuff, so I won't be able to actually play in it for at least a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Other than that, is there anything? There's not even like. Oftentimes I'd be like, oh, there's things I can't talk about. There's not even that right now. I think because Pirates just ended, we're kind of not, we're not about to launch a new project right away after that.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. Yeah, just enjoying BCG, enjoying daily streams and hanging out and stuff before I go. So yeah, there's not too much to talk about there.
And your own viewer sub SMP, right?
Yeah, we got GGSMP going at the moment.
Absolutely cracked. I was watching earlier the communists and without context, I do agree with the person who said it. Without context, it's a little bit like but you have to watch Acho stream to find that out. There you go. They should hopefully be back tomorrow from when this is coming out, so yeah, all things depending.
Should be.
The second question then comes from Pleb, and we've already answered the first part of the question. So the second one is, what's your advice for someone looking to start content creation?
Ooh. I mean, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'll reiterate it now. Do something that, like, whatever you're gonna stream or make videos about, make sure you are talking about something or playing something that you enjoy talking about or playing, because alongside that, like, 15-second rule thing, anytime anyone sees your content for the first time, if you are not having fun, they are not going to be having fun. So that's the base thing, and it also means you're going to be more motivated and enjoy it more and everything, of course. Furthermore, let go of, for a while at least, like reading too heavily into analytics. If you're starting out at the very beginning, you have to suck for a while. So it's normally, in my opinion, better for you to do the period of time where you're not good at it when you don't have that many followers anyways. If you have a lot of people seeing you and stuff, and that's your very beginning of content creation, obviously you hope that they stick around and stuff, and they're also there for when you're improved. But I think one of the weirdest things to think about is like the start of you being a content creator will pretty much always be the worst period of time. That'll be the part where you are the worst at making content. And so if you have more people watching you then than later on, the impression they have of you is that worst version of you. So I think slowly building and slowly letting it go up rather than worrying about blowing up straight away. And if you don't blow up straight away or you don't get a bunch of viewers straight away, then like, what's the point? Like, the point is you learn to be a good content creator so that when you then learn how to, grow off TikTok or grow off YouTube or grow in whatever way, when you get that influx of viewers, you'll be improved. You'll be at that better version of yourself as a content creator. You'll be more entertaining and stuff. And I think that's important to understand. It's like, it's okay to not be good at it. And it's also okay to not have that many people watching your streams or watching your videos and stuff. Because you've got to improve.
Yeah, that's a bit of advice you can give. Thank you. I know we touched on it earlier, but it's still just good to have in one little section here,
Yeah, 100%.
And then the final one comes from Jack asking, what is your favorite song from Forever and Always? And you can say all of them if you can't pick. I'm happy for you to do so.
No, music is one where I definitely can pick. There are things where it's like, oh no, they're all my creations. I can't pick. But music, like, I mean, it'll change, I think, a lot of the time in terms of what I enjoy the most out of my own stuff. There are definitely times where I look back on music or look back on creative things I've done and I don't like any of it or whatever. But Forever and Always, Dead Hair is a song that means so much to me personally that it will kind of always be my favorite, because it can't like lose that meaning that like will always mean the world to me. But you already said it yourself, but Complicated is of all of them, I think is the best song sonically. It has the like best music to it. It doesn't mean the most. That's what Dead Hair is to me, but in terms of like songs, I think Complicated is the most well produced, sounds the best.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I just enjoyed the entire thing, but obviously I have the favor of complicators. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the beat. See, I a strong preference to me for songs is the beat as well. Like I'll sometimes listen to like a song for the first 30 seconds because I like the beat, and then once it changes, I click off.
Yeah, that's valid.
So I don't know. I'm just weird.
That's so weird. That's reasonable.
Fair enough. Well, with that then, Acho, this sadly brings the end of the InsideMC podcast. No, we've been talking for so long. We've been on this call for over 2 hours now. But it's been great. It's been great nonetheless. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an honor.
Of course, I've enjoyed the conversation. I always enjoy yapping,
especially on New Year's Day as well. Like, you shortened your stream to come on. It's crazy. I don't know if people know that's the reason why you had a shorter stream, but if you didn't, then now you do. I
remember if I said it. Yeah, there you go. If you're listening to this and you can think back to New Year's Day, now you know why.
You can blame me. I always like to give the outro for you to promote yourself, Acho. Where can we've talked about your stream a lot, but we haven't mentioned where we can find your stream, even your alt account if you like. All the social media you want to provide, as well as your at. This is your chance.
Yeah, all right. If you want to watch my main content, what I dedicate most of my time to, that's over at twitch.tv/Acho, just ACHO. I assume it'll be easily available in a description or something like that. Anyways, yeah, you should be able to find that pretty easily. Most other platforms, it's GGAcho or GGAcho_, just ACHO with GG before it, or an underscore at the end. With an underscore at the end for most other things. Just Acho on Spotify if you like music, you want to listen to music. If you are listening right now and you already follow me on all of those platforms, the most important one for my ego is my Twitter. So please turn the notifications on and like every single one of my tweets every time I post them so that I can have my ego fueled. Thank you.
There we go, I see. And that's it as well, because I forgot to promote this on the last one. So below will be Acho's YouTube at, because I just always enter the YouTube at if you have one, and the Twitter. However, if you want to find all of Acho's social media links, as well as any other podcast guests, this hasn't been announced yet, Acho, this is being announced tomorrow. The InsideMC podcast now has a wiki.
Whoa!
It now has its own official wiki, which is very cool. So
that is cool, yeah.
Definitely looking forward to promoting that from tomorrow, which is no context to you, the listener, but this is sometimes what we got to face with the podcast. Go check out Acho, amazing content creator, and big plans for the future. 2024, whole new year. With that being said, then this has been InsideMC. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe. Don't eat too much bread. Thank you so much, Acho. You've been amazing. Pieces.
Oh, of course. Bye. Peace.